Hi, my name is Adam Alexandre, better known as Adam Baguette, and while at the San Diego Major, I had the opportunity to talk to G2's Satthew and JKnaps. Enjoy.
So I'm JKnaps from G2 Esports.
Yeah. I'm Satthew, the coach of G2 Esports.
From the outside, the method for guaranteeing a successful event for G2 is to focus on enabling Atomic and ensuring he has space to create those successful offensive drives. From playing with Rezo, Therese, Kronovi, that they weren't that offensive player that was important in creating those pressure. So how was that process of accommodating to a player like Atomic?
I think we had to incorporate what Atomic has been doing on Envy, his previous team, and we kind of had to combine. Me and Chicago's play style was kind of too team oriented. We were passing a lot, and we kind of had to incorporate what Atomic brought from Envy into our style, and I think it worked really well when he first joined, and I think we're still trying to find that balance of kind of that new age controlled style. And I think with Atomic especially, we just have to give him space and take more touches on the ball.
Hi, my name is Jalen, also known as Jayski from Shift. Not sure if you guys have done any replay reviews on the Cardinal Series at this point, but what would you do differently in that series if you had the chance looking back at it?
Yeah, I think, this tournament, there are multiple series, including the G1, where we just started off multiple games going down 2 or 3 goals within the first 30 seconds. Whether that be through kickoffs or that be through just poor challenging or just not being focused or locked in. First thing that's needed to be addressed is just the fact that we weren't really focused going into some of these games, and it's hard to chase leads in the current meta, and teams are just so good at controlling the ball and just wasting time and stalling. So that's just priority one.
Following up on what I talked about earlier, while Atomic is the centerpiece of G2's offensive drives, all players tend to have their off days. When G2 as a team recognizes that an opponent is focused on stifling Atomic, or when Atomic isn't feeling confidence, who is next up on the chopping block who makes the stuff go on in the team?
On the chop, so in the sense that they're going to
they have
be
to
an offensive threat.
Yeah.
I'd say probably JKnaps. He's our best shooter, and he has just, especially this season, really done a great amount in improving just his on-ball control. But it's expected from all 3 players. I know Atomic is our key player in that sense, and he's the most gifted in that sense. But it's becoming more and more that every player on the team is expected to at least have a foundational level of being dangerous on the ball and such. So yeah.
Heading into next split, what is your guys' goals? Obviously, every team's goal is to win, but is there any specific placements, like being the top seed of NA?
Yeah, I think it's just definitely winning as much as possible. We haven't won a regional this entire season, and we had plenty of them last season, so we want to get back to that. And we want to contend for Worlds, and obviously Boston. It's we really want to win. We're really kind of itching to win because it's just been, we've had a drought. So
I think for us as well, maybe after Complexity just made the semifinals, they might be ahead of us in points. And I think a safe bet would be trying to be ahead of trying to be 3rd seed in NA so we get the auto qual spot for Worlds.
Yeah.
So that's a big goal, is just to outplace Complexity at every event and hopefully keep that top 3 spot.
Again, going back to the question I asked about this, so you guys mentioned how all the G2 players are expected to have that foundational base that can be dangerous. Looking back at the stats, even when Atomic has a lower goal participation rate and has lower points per game and everything, G2 tends to suffer their worst losses. So while it has been an issue ever since he's joined, ever since he's been playing with you guys, every time he's kind of not performing due to various reasons, you guys tend to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been a point of focus in your guys? Have you guys recognized that and noticing that even if the other 2 players are good, they're not being able to elevate to the level that Atomic does?
It's definitely a point that we recognize, and it's obviously not an easy topic as a team to talk about because it's regarding player skill and everything. we recognize it, and we try to remedy it, and we try to push each other to really improve individually every day, and hold each other accountable. That's been a big thing this split, is holding each other accountable and taking blame for mistakes that are made.
So this has been a point of discussion, and it's popped up a couple times during community discussion. Teams moving regions and hopping around. Do you guys have an opinion on that? Should teams like Elevate even exist? Should SAN teams be moving to NA? What are your guys' opinions about that?
I don't really have like much of an opinion. I like it just in general. I like the competition in general, and I think North America especially has been getting most of like the cross region transfers.
Yeah,
and I like it. I think it just makes it more competitive and exciting for the viewers.
Yeah, I think Sonics could maybe look into something regarding like moving world spots around, depending on what if a top team from one region goes to a different region, similar to like having some type of coefficient system. I think like Champions League does in real soccer or football. I think is worth looking into with this.
Again, to both of you, G2 is one of the handful of teams that do not make roster changes as frequently as their competitors. Notably, NRG are one of the teams in NA that has not made a roster change and have veterans on their roster. However, they fell behind pretty quickly, while you were able to catch up and adapt to the meta and still attend lands to the States. As a team and individually, what has been like the main reason that you guys were able to adapt and constantly face the new meta quickly?
I mean, I think it starts with the fact that like we do have a group of like 3 really good players just to work with from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think with I think we have 3 really good players, and they're really mature and open to learning the meta as it changes. And yeah, I think just that open-mindedness is what just really lets us, again, being able to take critique from each other and understanding that it's all to get better, and really trying to be like students of the game and focus on how the game is changing. So I think that's really helped us.
Yeah, I'd say like I think we're just like hungry to win, and if we don't win a tournament, we like want to go home and practice. And not saying NRG didn't want that, but maybe like the hunger went away a little bit once they were winning for so long. I think we have never like won for consistent tournaments, and I think the hunger to like go home and practice and do better in scrims has always been there for me in Chicago. So I think that's like a big reason why we've like kept up with the meta.
This question is for JKnaps. I don't know if you've been keeping up with hockey a lot lately, but who's your pick for the cup?
Pick for the cup. I kind of slowed down a little bit because the Senators are probably not gonna get a spot in playoffs. They were close at the end of the season, but I'll go with Colorado again because Nathan McKinnon's from Nova Scotia, and he's been playing really well.
Since season 7, just 4 years ago, you guys have been making top-tier appearances at every North American land, but in European land, you guys tend to fall down a little. Elaborating on that uncomfortableness you guys talked about, is like comfort a huge thing when it comes to the game, like both in and out, like the language barrier, maybe cultural barrier. Is that like a reason?
Yeah, I'd say definitely the culture barrier side of things. I think when we go to lanes, we just like to have some fun as well outside of the game. When we do well at a lane, we've likely gone out as a team and just had fun. And for some reason in Europe, we just have more trouble doing so.
So you both have been around for years at this point, and I'm curious, what are some things you've noticed that has shifted in the culture of Rocket League?
I'd say like the biggest shift is just it's gotten like more professional, like more money in the game, more serious in general. Like it used to kind of just be a hobby with like a little chance to win a little bit of money at the end of the day, but it's become very serious and there's like strict schedules. There's just a lot. It's like very corporate now, and I think back in the day it just kind of felt like a passion thing.
People definitely felt more like connected, but it felt like one big happy family back in the day. But yeah, everyone's just so busy now, so everyone's got to do their thing, and it's cutthroat. Everyone's out for each other, so yeah.
At one point, correct me if I'm wrong, G2 had a Rocket League team house at some point. There were like people living together. I talked to Complexity, Liquid, and Carmine, and they mentioned how they bootcamp consistently for regionals, and the regionals they did bootcamp, they won. So I just wanted your guys' perspective, because if I'm correct, you guys don't bootcamp at the regionals, you don't bootcamp for domestic events. Is there a reason? Do you guys feel more comfortable at home? Do you guys believe it could benefit your gameplay if you did it?
We definitely think it would benefit. It's just with this season, timings have just been off, and I think we want to do them, and the resources have been there for us to do them. We just, for some reason, haven't sent it this time. But I think it's definitely in the near future. We're going to look into some with this upcoming split. So yeah.
I think it really depends on if the players want to. Like, I think it would be detrimental if like one player didn't want to boot camp and they're kind of like forced to go with the team, then it can actually like be a negative for some teams. But if everyone's like on board with it, and I think that's like it helps like immensely if everyone wants to do it and the vibes are good at the boot camp.
Okay, so unfortunately, G2 of course is one of the only team actually that has made grand finals at the Worlds twice, and lost both times. Started to talk about it. While getting so close and failing to seal the deal must be extremely demoralizing. You guys have decided to stick through it and push even harder in the following splits. How do you guys typically collect the pieces and rebuild following a loss at an event, especially for ones where such a deep run was made and the next split or the next event you're like top 2 again?
I mean, the thing is, I think we struggled with that aspect of rebuilding after, a tough loss like that, because, we go to fall in Rotterdam and we actually did very poorly. It's been a process of learning how to do so, because again, I mean, we did bad in London prior to Worlds and rebuilt and found something for Worlds there. But it's really just kind of like what JKnaps was talking about earlier, just mid-series, how it's sticking to a game plan. It's even post-event and sticking to a game plan. It's very easy to lose a tournament such as London and just think, oh, we did everything wrong, which in our case, we got reverse swept twice. And it's like, well, it couldn't have been actually that bad, but we felt like we were just the worst team ever. So it's really trying to keep our just mental state calm and collected and really collect our thoughts and talk about it without too much emotion and really objectively look at what happened. So
at this event, while it was a top 8 finish, it ended your record of the consistent top 2s at the NA event. But the top 8 does not tell the whole story. I mean, you guys played against the priming Cardinal Cup. They played extremely well during the series. While on home turf, G2 does have overall a positive record against European teams. What was it about Cardinal Cup, and what did they execute so flawlessly against you guys that just made it so difficult for to even turn more than 2 games on?
I'd say like they're a team kind of similar to BDS where you make like one mistake on a challenge and they punish just because they're so good mechanically. It felt like we honestly didn't feel like we played that bad, but like one mistake within the first 10 seconds of the game or 2 mistakes and it would be like 2-0 and they would just hold the lead. I think that's the best part, is they're so good individually that they will punish you like instantly for mistakes that you wouldn't even think would like turn into goals.
JKnaps. Today, the heartbreaking retirement of Dortmund and Joe Roberts were announced. And even though you started competing at roughly a similar time as those players, you are the last player, I would say, from that era that is consistently making events, being at the top of the statistics. So, while many players have speculated your retirement, has that ever been a consideration throughout your career, like a serious consideration? And after the Worlds lost and now this event, is it something that has been in the back of your mind? Or?
Yeah, it's always like something in the back of my mind, just because I know like I'm like one of the oldest players, and just it's always just a thought. And I think sometimes like during the breaks, like I'll think about it, but I always like usually get a new motivation when I go home, and maybe after a week break, like in my head after a loss, like I'll be like in a bad mindset, and then after a week break, like I'll fully want to reset on Rocket League and have this like motivation to play. And I think at least I was like really feeling it from fall major last year, and Atomic joined the team, and I had like this rejuvenation basically for the game, and it felt like really fun again. I think it usually comes from if practice is like enjoyable for me. And I think right now, at least, like it's been enjoyable, and we've been trying to improve every day, but it's always going to be a thought just because I'm one of the older players.
Do you guys believe age is a serious factor in hockey league? And if so, is it falling out of touch with the game? Because biologically, there really isn't any like so-called advantage for being younger. It's just kind of like a stigma that's in our scene, especially with you guys being one of the older teams. What do you think about age actually makes you want to play the game less?
I don't know if it's necessarily the age, but like how many years I've been playing at like competitively. I think that is like the biggest factor, just because like there's a sense of like wanting to win in practice, or like there's a sense of wanting to improve every day that kind of diminishes the longer you've been playing. And I think there's some players, like I feel like I'm good at forcing myself to like be hungry and motivated, and I guess some players might struggle with that, but yeah, I think you have to like, if that like hunger isn't there anymore, you kind of have to like force it if you want to still be at the top.
Yeah, I think more important than age is actually just what year you kind of went through your primary development as a player, where you gained that, like you conditioned yourself the most, what meta you conditioned yourself the most in. So it just happens that, older players condition themselves primarily in a meta, how many years ago. So that's why it makes players like JKnaps extra special, the fact that they can go through multiple metas and learn them.
I also think like the amount of hours you put in can like have an effect on how you burn out. And I think like maybe because I'm not putting in like the highest amount of hours compared to some pro players every like 2 weeks, that maybe that's why I've lasted longer, because my main practice is like scrims and not like playing 6 hours of ranked every day. So maybe that has to do with it. I've always thought about that.
So you think how you like efficiently spend your time on the game actually matters? Because a lot of players have that, 1-10+2 kind of mentality where they really have to dedicate their entire life to the game.
Yes.
That's not necessary to get to the top level, as long as it's efficient.
Yeah, I think especially for like longer careers and burnout, if you like evenly put in an amount of hours instead of like putting in 120 hours every 2 weeks.
Although I think getting to the top, you still do need to put in a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily 110, but once you're at the top, you can look at it more efficiently. So, yeah.